Poilievre blows the lid off Carney's role. Canadians demand an end to Liberal pain and failure. As Canada prepares for a defining election on April 28, 2025, the political stakes have never been higher. Voters are presented with two distinct visions for the country's future. On one side stands Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, offering a vision of freedom, fiscal responsibility, and personal empowerment. On the other is newly installed Liberal Prime Minister Mark Carney, a former central banker whose policies and leadership are now under intense scrutiny. The question being asked from coast to coast is clear. Has the Liberal decade of high spending, rising crime, and lost opportunity finally reached its end? Poilievre has made it his mission to expose what he calls the elite economic mismanagement under the Liberal government, now personified by Carney. According to Poilievre, Canadians are not just feeling the pinch of inflation. They're being suffocated by policies that have driven food bank use to record highs and doubled housing prices across the country. He argues that while Carney has built a reputation in elite financial circles, his policies are far removed from the day-to-day struggles of working Canadians. The Liberals, he says, have had their chance and failed. At the core of Poilievre's campaign is a bold, unflinching message. They want control. We want freedom. In rally after rally, he has hammered home the contrast between his vision of limited government and personal choice and what he describes as the Liberals' obsession with expanding bureaucratic control into every corner of Canadians' lives, from their bank accounts and homes to their parenting choices and online speech. Liberals have responded with accusations, suggesting that a Conservative government would restrict abortion access or roll back LGBTQ protections. But Poilievre has pushed back hard on this narrative. He has repeatedly affirmed that the Conservative Party has had a clear and unwavering pro-choice policy since 2004. We're not in the business of running people's lives, Poilievre has said, reinforcing that his fight is against overreach, not personal freedoms. In fact, he's gone so far as to joke that if he were to start a new party, he'd call it the Mind Your Own Business Party. That philosophy is resonating, especially with voters who feel like the government has grown too powerful, too intrusive, and too disconnected. Poilievre's platform is focused on reducing the cost of living, cutting wasteful spending, and restoring economic dignity to those who feel left behind. He often points to the personal example of his wife, who was able to purchase a home on her own at 25 under Stephen Harper's leadership, a milestone that now seems unattainable for many young Canadians. Carney, in contrast, has pledged $130 billion in new spending, on top of what the Trudeau government already added to the debt. While his supporters tout this as a necessary investment in Canada's future, Poilievre frames it as a continuation of the same policies that brought Canada to the brink of economic disaster. It's the same disaster with a different name, Poilievre said recently, accusing the Liberals of sprinkling a few good ideas into a budget bloated with ineffective and inflationary spending. Poilievre's plan is to gut what he calls the bloated administrative state, cutting back on bureaucracy, foreign aid, and corporate welfare, but preserving essential services that Canadians rely on. His promise is simple: bring back affordability, restore safety, and give power back to individuals. A key part of Poilievre's pitch is reversing legislation like Bill C-11 and Bill C-18, which he says represent a dangerous shift toward government censorship. These laws, introduced under Trudeau and supported by Carney, give sweeping powers to regulate online content. Poilievre has vowed to repeal them and restore Canada's position as one of the freest nations in the world. People should be free to speak their minds, especially when they disagree with the government, he said. Crime and public safety have also become major flashpoints in this election. Poilievre has painted the Liberal approach as soft on crime and disconnected from the public's growing concern over violence and disorder. Under the Liberal government, he argues, safe supply drug policies have enabled addiction rather than addressing its root causes. His plan would eliminate safe supply funding for hard drugs like fentanyl and redirect resources into rehab programs tied to actual recovery results. He also advocates for stronger penalties for drug traffickers and more protection for victims. In sharp contrast, Carney has defended these harm reduction programs, suggesting they are part of a broader public health approach. But critics argue that the results speak for themselves: rising overdose deaths, increased urban disorder, and growing frustration among Canadians who feel unsafe in their communities. Poilievre's broader message is about restoring balance. Balancing government budgets, yes, but also balancing the relationship between the state and the citizen. He emphasizes that freedom does not mean chaos. It means trust. A trust in people to raise their families, build businesses, and make decisions without being micromanaged by Ottawa. To reinforce that vision, Poilievre frequently highlights the role of strong women in his party. He has surrounded himself with accomplished, capable female leaders, from Deputy Leader Melissa Lantsman to campaign manager Jenny Byrne, demonstrating that merit, not tokenism, is the guiding principle of conservative leadership. He contrasts this with the treatment of prominent women under the Liberals, including Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott, who were forced out after raising ethical concerns. "I'm a pro-choice, conservative woman," one high-profile member of Poilievre's team recently said. "I care about women, I care about freedom, and I care about this country." It's a sentiment that reflects a broader redefinition of what conservatism means in Canada, one rooted in choice, opportunity, and respect for individuals, not outdated stereotypes. Recent debate moments have intensified the contrast between the two leaders. While Poilievre spoke passionately about crime victims, housing unaffordability, and freedom of speech, Carney focused on economic theory and global trends. For some voters, Carney's technocratic tone was reassuring. For others, it was out of touch. Poilievre, by contrast, used plain language and real-life examples to connect with Canadians struggling under the weight of inflation and insecurity. Poilievre has also called out Carney for falsely suggesting that he would use the notwithstanding clause to restrict abortion rights. Poilievre forcefully denied the accusation and pointed to his record as consistent and transparent. "Carney knows this isn't true," he said. "It's fear politics, and Canadians deserve better." As the countdown to Election Day continues, one thing is clear: this is no ordinary election. It's a battle between two competing ideas of what Canada should be. Carney represents continuity, elite management, and top-down governance. Poilievre offers disruption, accountability, and a grassroots revival of democratic values. For millions of Canadians, this election represents a turning point. They see a country where crime is rising, affordability is vanishing, and the middle class is shrinking. They're asking themselves, do we want more of the same, or are we ready to chart a new course? Poilievre believes the answer is obvious, and he's betting that Canadians are ready for change. "Hope is coming," he often says. "But you have to vote for it." This campaign is about more than policies, it's about values. Do we want a government that tells us how to live, what to say, and how to think? Or one that steps aside and lets individuals build their own futures? The road ahead will not be easy. Poilievre admits that reversing the damage of the past decade will take time, focus, and discipline. But he also believes that Canadians are up for the challenge, and that together, they can rebuild a country where hard work pays off, freedom is respected, and every citizen has a real chance to thrive. With just days left before Canadians cast their ballots, the atmosphere is electric. Every conversation, every debate, every vote matters. This is more than a political contest. It is a national reckoning. And the outcome will shape the course of Canadian history for generations to come.